I recently watched all 13 episodes of Megalobox and I enjoyed them immensely. It's a great show and you should also watch it. But it, like many other sports-themed media, made me aware of my total lack of interest in any real-life sports, especially global sporting events like the Olympics or the FIFA World Cup. Now, I am an advocate for physical exercise and I do have my daily training routine. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for the discipline and determination shown by the athletes who compete in these events. But while I like the first Rocky movie, the aforementioned Megalobox and Raging Bull, I've never watched an entire boxing match as I find them pretty dull and unengaging. Thanks to Suda51 and the Black Velvetopia level in Psychonauts, I am transfixed by the image of the Mexican luchador, but I despise the macho culture of actual lucha libre, or any wrestling for that matter. Some of my favorite episodes in the original Dragon Ball series were those that took place during the World Martial Arts Tournament, but watching actual MMA fights bores me to death. Why is that? Well, the obvious answer would be that movies, shows and video games have actual narratives and portray not so much the pure physical activity itself, but show the inner workings of the characters engaging with them, what drives them, what motivates them, and how winning or losing affects them. Now, professional wrestling, for example, has all that as well, a narrative, character arcs, but to me at least it all seems really basic and dumbed down to appeal to the widest possible audience of lowest common denominator idiot people. Although I've recently watched a video by Super Eyepatch that actually made me question my stance on this, but never mind. So maybe it comes down to the actual personalities of the athletes themselves to explain my disinterest. I get the impression that apart from training a lot to improve upon the skills and abilities they need to utilize in the sport of their choice, most athletes seem to have rather ordinary tastes in regards to their hobbies and general interests, like expensive cars, video games, fucking wristwatches, and their ordinariness seems to be celebrated by the public the same way their exceptional physical talent is. Of course, there's nothing wrong with being basic and ordinary, but if I'm supposed to watch someone struggle, I expect a little bit more. For me to follow a public figure's life, they need to be exceptional in more than one respect. And they certainly need to do more than just play football really well or punch their opponent really hard. Take the obvious example. Bruce Lee is a martial arts legend. He wasn't only a great athlete, he also had great interest in philosophy and education. He trained his body and his mind. He founded his very own style of martial art. That deserves admiration. Of course, not everyone can be Bruce Lee. And if you choose to idolize someone for just being really good at sports, is there really something inherently wrong with that? My standards for someone being worthy of glorification are simply different then, right? Well, growing up and presently still living in Bavaria, which is home to the biggest and most successful football club in Germany, I do see problems in teaching kids to worship football players, to collect football trading cards and to wear football jerseys to PE class. I think young kids should have higher aspirations than to become professional football players because most of them, while being incredibly determined and showing great endurance, don't necessarily make the most intelligent life decisions. And they tend to neglect their education because they need to train so much, and that often bites them in the ass once they become older. So yeah, some real-life athletes really do fascinate me, like the previously mentioned Bruce Lee, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I of course have to mention Arnold Schwarzenegger, whom I find endlessly fascinating. Apparently bodybuilding doesn't even count as a sport. But regardless, Schwarzenegger was always aiming for the stars, and he reached all his goals. Jim Carrey would say he just dared to ask the universe. So apart from a lack of interesting personalities in sports, making me not care that much about them, there are also major events like the Olympics and the Football World Cup that I have huge issues with. It's no secret that, for example, in my native country of Germany, the government deliberately tries to introduce unpopular and controversial laws during the Football World Cup in hopes of the general public being too distracted by all the excitement to notice. And it works most of the time. There's also the rampant consumerism and nationalism aimed, again, especially at children. And the FIFA is a bunch of corrupt little shits. For the recent 2018 Winter Olympics, the organizers completely removed tens of thousands of trees from the slopes of Mount Gariwang, including ancient and rare species, to make room for a ski slope. What the actual fuck? When I watch movies like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome or The Running Man, not that I do that very often, mind you, I'm fascinated with what they say about people and the human condition. Thunderdome shows how warped humanity's understanding of justice has become after the downfall of civilization. The Running Man observes how the government is able to manipulate its citizens to distract them from serious issues by catering to their primitive and violent impulses. But what do actual sporting events say about us? For the average football fan, it's not about looking up to someone or aspiring to become a better human being. It's about distraction. It's an excuse not to think. I believe the inherent mindset of us against them in competitive sports can be dangerous and send the wrong message, especially nowadays as Europe is crumbling and nationalism is on the rise. What I want to say basically is, of course there's nothing wrong with having your favorite team or club and getting swept up in the excitement surrounding a major event. It's just a difference in taste. I don't think I'm better, I watch fucking boxing anime. But don't let it distract you from engaging in the things that actually count. If the organizers of these events don't respect human rights or the environment, boycott them. Don't give them your attention or your money. Stay involved in the political process and think about who actually makes for a decent role model. Arnold Schwarzenegger cheated on his wife with his housekeeper, so he's out. John Cena says Fist of the North Star is his favorite anime movie, so he has absolutely no taste. Should you idolize anyone, really? Check out my favorite writer, Haruki Murakami. He's wild, he's imaginative, he knows a shit ton about music, art and culture, and he has run over 20 marathons. So yeah, just idolize him. So originally I wanted to focus on violent sports and fiction like Battle Royale, The Running Man, Red Line, Death Race, stuff like that. But in the end it became this weird rant. Anyway, a good friend of mine gave me these Dylan Dog volumes, and he's the character of Dylan Dog was the inspiration for Francesco Della Morte in Della Morte Della More. So I might get to work on a follow-up video to that one. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Anyway, thanks for watching and see you soon.